Hey everybody, welcome. Today I'm going to show you just a easy clothing repair. This isn't darning, which is a little more complicated. This is just a patch with like a sashiko stitch to reinforce it. So these pants, I started the project. I put a patch on the inside. It's not like a official patch. It's just a piece of canvas, and I took a chunk, pinned it inside, and then stitched it just back and forth with a running stitch. And it's a little hard to see, but there was a pretty big tear across, and because these get a lot of wear and tear, I decided to patch it instead of just sew that hole back together. And then there was a tiny one here. So these are cargo pants, my partner's pants, and a lot of wear and tear happens on these corners. So we're going to also do, probably just show you one of these too. There's little holes on these two corners too. So we're going to fix those up. Some materials are, I'm going to use a darning mushroom. You don't need this. You can use a piece of cardboard. You just need something under here. We put it inside. You can't really see that. So that there's like a somewhat solid material behind where you're going to be sewing. So you don't like sew through and accidentally stitch the pants together. So this I got on Etsy. There's tons of vintage ones. They're very cool. I'm going to probably use a couple of straight pins to hold this, which I'll cut a little smaller, piece of canvas on the inside. Use a needle. This one's relatively long. Needles, again, totally up to you. I don't want too small of an eye because I'm going to put 3 strands of this embroidery thread, which I already separated. Started like this, and I cut a length that's manageable for my arm length, which you can't see. And then I divided it in half. So this was 6 strands to begin, and now it's 3. Goodness. And some trimming scissors, and I'll use big sewing shears to cut this. So really low supply requirements to repair a worn out pair of pants, and then hopefully they'll last another year. They're probably about a year old. You know, to me pants should last more like 10 years, but these are from Uniqlo. They're not, particularly high quality. So cut this patch. It's quite a bit bigger than the hole because I don't want this to happen over here. So we're going to go, it's at least like a 1/2 inch on every side. I'm going to stick it right there. This part's kind of tricky. How do we get it exactly where we want it? I'm going to pin it on the inside because I can see it's where I want it to be for just a brief second. And then I'm going to pin it again on the outside twice. And this little area with the pocket flap, also a little bit tricky, but it's not impossible. All right, 2 pins on that side. I'm going to remove this one now so I don't stab myself with it. Move these out of my way. Done with those. We will. Oh, I already got a knot just from showing you. Okay, it's just easy. All right. pin it. Or let's start got my needle. You're definitely not going to be able to see this. Three strands in this needle is a little bit annoying to thread. Especially because I'm trying to thread it under the camera, which is kind of far from my face. I'll trim it, give a nice clean edge, and try again. There we go. Trim it. Easy. This piece of thread is actually probably a little long. So it's on one, I'm not gonna like double it and tie a knot. We're just gonna use one of the strands, or, you know, it's 3 strands, but we're not gonna double it to 6. It's just gonna be 3 that's gonna hold the whole thing together. Move these out of the way. I'm gonna put my darning mushroom right under there. And I'm gonna stick with, I did the stitches vertical on this, and I'm gonna keep doing that, but you could totally make horizontal stitches too. All right, so you can feel the edge of the fabric about here, so I'm gonna start one line of stitch out. In order to start, I actually want to leave a pretty long tail. You'll see I made this really wide gap here because when I'm done, I'm going to flip it over and it'll be easy for me to find where the end is and pull it through, and then I'll just weave the tail in and not make any knots at all. So it is easier for me to stitch right to left than up and down. So, and I actually overshot that patch by, let's try again, by about a ½ inch. So there's the beginning. The edge of the patch is here. So this is about a ¼ inch outside. I'm going to do one set of stitches not in the patch. So that's it, just up, down, up, down. It's a running stitch. I'm making the table shake with this project. And the camera is unfortunately attached to the table. Down, up. I can feel the other edge of the patch right about there. All right, and then to get to the next row over, I'm going to go down in the same row, and then I'm going to come diagonally up where I want the next row to start. We'll do that several more times. The nice thing about the darning mushroom is you can see this hand, it's just like holding it. It's a nice handle. And that first row of stitches, those are a little bit bigger than I would normally make. So I'm going to try for a little bit smaller. And the whole thing probably be pretty imperfect, and that's okay. So now I can tell I'm starting to reach the patch, and it's a lot harder to get through the 2 pieces of fabric. So I'm going to do 1 stitch at a time, probably for the, so then I go down because this is not the last stitch. 1 more stitch. Down, and then I'm going to come back up where I want the next row to start. Ouch. Just poked myself with that pin. All right. I end up twisting my work a lot as I do this. I sometimes have to go through, untangle myself. So I can get 3 on there if I use 2 hands, which is nice. And I'm just going right over the pins. It's a little bit tricky to get over those, but I want to leave them in as long as possible to really hold that patch in place. All right. Down, diagonal, over, and do it again. Down, up, up. Now we're getting to the actual hole, and you just keep going because that patch is back there as a reinforcement, so you can go right over the hole. We're about to get to the last part I want to show you. Well, I'm going to show you. So now this is starting to be in my way. I'm going to just stick it over here. Now I'm going to show you. There's no right or wrong way to do this. This like corner pocket is just kind of tricky. But I'm going to go down, and I'm going to come back up under the fold. I'm not going to sew this fold down. I want the pockets to still be, like the flap to still be functional. So you kind of got to go under it so that it still works. And this pin is also getting in my way. So say goodbye. Where is the edge of that? Oh, I'm right at the edge. Okay. Working under the flap again. And then I'm just going to go here and push real hard. Try to stay under there and come back out on the other side. I made a little knot in there when I did that. Oh, because I pulled my tail out. Nope. There it is. And when I pulled that, I just pulled the whole thing way too tight. And the entire system got pulled. Oh no! Mistakes on camera. I'm gonna loosen all those back up again. That looks pretty good. And pull gently to Tighten. Can you hear that helicopter? Something's going on outside. Just hope no one, we live by the beach, hope no one's drowning. That is the saddest thing about living by the beach, I think. All right, continuing. This pen is, that's what helicopters, too close. Not at the beach, something else is happening. We're not that close to the beach, that's hovering right outside. So this edge is kind of like wonky, which is totally fine with me aesthetically, but if you wanted all your stitches to end sort of on the same line and make a really nice square set of stitches, I would use the chalk or something. Draw yourself, I used white, that's a horrible example for this camera. I don't think I have my blue. Oh, here's the blue one. This like clover water soluble pencils, and draw yourself a nice square so you can see the edges, and then you could run your stitches right up to this edge and make it super organized. That's an option. You could probably look online and see some examples of super neat sashiko stitching. I just go for it though. I like the imperfect look. Okay. Now we're gonna go down under the flap again. I only have to do like 2 more rows here. Flap. Yeah, I'm almost at the end of my patch. What am I gonna do when I get to this tricky bit? Is not just gonna go around that corner. A lot of tricky bits on these pants. Said that like 15 times now. One more row. There's the edge of the patch, so I'm going to go one more beyond the edge. You can see my stitches got smaller since the beginning. Started working a little more fine, which is my preference. I like the stitches small. Just got nervous. Turn the camera on, brush through it. Again, under the flap. Oh wow, I moved the thing out. Sorry. Two more stitches under there. And then I'm going to send the needle through. I'm going to go fetch it on the inside. Remove the darning needle. Watch your fingers in here. Okay, so pull the needle up from the outside. Now you can see the patch is pretty secure. There's like one little corner. Could just cut that off or something. So now in order to secure that tail, I'm not going to do a knot. I'm just going to start weaving it through. It's convenient that it's already threaded. Like 5 stitches that way, and then I'm going to change direction at least once. Maybe I'll just weave it through the patch too, since you won't see that on the front. So there's that tail tuck. Now we'll trim it. Sorry, it's real bright in here. Okay, and then I told you I left this big gap when I was putting the thread in on the front, because then it gives you like just enough tail to sorry, I gotta lick that thread to make it. Thread the needle with this tail, maybe. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna start tucking it. Look for these nice, these like small stitches are a little tighter, so it's a good place to tuck your tails. This tiny, tiny stitch here. That's good. All right. Trimmed. And there's one more. Those corners, nice and reinforced. Now that hole won't open up again. Hopefully forever, for at least a while. And I'm not going to do this one on camera, but I'll do that one. And then I think that's all the holes. Maybe some reinforcing stitches in this part that need to be done, so you can repair your clothes with very little equipment. You don't need the darning mushroom. You can use a piece of cardboard, scissors, embroidery thread, needles, pins, and a little patch. This is pretty thick canvas. That's it. All right. Thank you for watching.